welcome to the India Development Debate. I'm Nayantara Rai in New Delhi. Ladies and gentlemen, D-Day is here. It has just begun. The world's biggest election, the most expensive election on this planet. And it's going to be election season all the way till May 23rd. That's, of course, the counting day. Now, phase 1 of voting has ended, which is going to decide the fate of as many as 91 constituencies across 18 states and 2 union territories. Unfortunately, once again, there was sporadic incidents of violence in Andhra Pradesh, some reported in Maharashtra as well. There have been allegations of EVMs malfunctioning. That's, of course, been a charge raised by the opposition. We've seen that in Jammu and Kashmir. The voter turnout resembles the turnout we saw in 2014, a little bit on the higher side, especially when you look at some seats like Gaya, Muzaffarnagar. In 2014, of all the seats that went to polls today, NDA had grabbed 37, and this time it's against the might of the Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj BSP alliance in the seats of Western Uttar Pradesh. The UPA did manage a dismal 8 seats of the 91 in 2014. So let's discuss election season, which has truly begun today. Is it going to go the BJP's way? Is the Mahagatbandhan indeed a reality? Will the BJP and Congress make serious inroads into South India? Welcome to this edition of the India Development Debate. And now I'll invite all of my guests. Nalin Kohli, the advocate at Supreme Court. He's, of course, the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. We're also being joined by Salmana Soos, the national spokesperson for the Congress Party. With us in the studio is Rashid Kidwai, well-known political commentator. And we're also being joined by Sadanand Dhume, resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. And for us, who's going to be analyzing South India is Sai Sekhar, a well-known political analyst. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us here on India Development Debate. Ground rules, let's just have this all through election season. Let's keep the discourse of a high pedigree. Let's not get into personalities and name-calling. Let's keep it intelligent. You know, let's try and at least do that and don't try to just take pot shots. Having said that, I'll come to you first, Nalin Kohli. You know, you've got this mammoth task at the moment where you're going to have to defend 32 seats. The BJP had won 32 of the 91 seats in 2014. Is it going to be as simple as it was 5 years ago?
Nayantara, first of all, thank you. And I think with Salman also on the other side and Rashid Bhai and others, I'm sure you're going to have a very civil debate. So I don't think you need to worry. All of us are the types who keep that ground rule. The second part is to your question. Look, I think we need to bear in mind this is an interesting election because this is actually a pro-incumbency election from our point of view. What are we going in with? We are going in with the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, his popularity, and we are talking of the delivery of his government. We are talking of all the work that's been done over 5 years for every segment, whether it's in terms of financial inclusion, whether it's in terms of infrastructure, whether it's in terms of the economy, moving at an average of over 7% over the 5-year period, which has never happened in a 5-year period consecutively, whether it's the growth of the tax base, growth of direct tax, GST being implemented, IBC or the insolvency proceedings being implemented, ease of doing business scale. So there's a lot. I can talk of the social schemes too. Obviously, every time you go into a re-election and you go into election mode, it's always a challenge to retain seats. But we are confident that given the track record and Prime Minister Modi's popularity, we should be able to we should be given an opportunity once more to get into government and continue with the work that we are doing. Certainly in Uttar Pradesh, everyone's waiting to see how it would be with regard to the tie-up that's taken place between the Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party, the so-called Gathbandhan or Mahagatbandhan. But on the other hand, there is also the fact that the BJP is in government there, and we believe that the incumbency in favor of the government in Uttar Pradesh also will hold good for us when we compare it with the past track records of both of the governments of either the Bahujan Samaj Party or this. I think it's going to be a good election for us, but rest is, of course, we'll know on the 23rd of May.
Of course, 23rd May counting days. So now let me come to the Congress Party, Salman Soos. You know, do you think you can better the Congress's record of last time round? Of this 91 that has been that's gone to polls today, the Congress party only won 7. And you know, whichever way you look at it, the task before the Congress to improve from 2014 is so much easier. You only got 44 seats in 2014. Do you think you can get more than 7 seats of the 91 that went on offer today?
Nayantara, I think, you know, I remember the last election as if it was yesterday, and Nalin and I used to be on lots of debates in 2014. This election looks nothing like 2014. In fact, you're right, obviously, that we had only 44 seats last time. UP had only 59 seats in total. This time, I can tell you that Kerala, Karnataka, and Tamil Nadu are likely to give us 59 seats or thereabouts. Just these 3 states, I mean the UPA. So a totally different election. You're right, of course, for the Congress, because we had gone down so much, it's easier to pick up seats. And for the BJP, it is obviously going to be tougher to hold on to seats. I know that Nalin talked about, you know, the government's achievements and the Prime Minister's popularity. But, you know, obviously, there are many different ways of looking at this. Unemployment being at a 45-year high, the direct taxes that Nalin talks about, there's a 50,000 crore shortfall this year. If you look at the savings rate, it's as low as it was in 1997-98. So, you know, some of the indicators that we're seeing, and by the way, the growth of 7%, I think it is increasingly clear that the economy is not growing at 7%. I think the integrity of the data, that our national income statistics, has been called into question because of the government's, I think, irresponsible conduct. And in fact, the IMF's chief economist, Geeta Gopinath, just yesterday said that the IMF is monitoring the growth data carefully and wants the government to be more transparent, which hasn't happened. You know, in such a long time. I remember
the IMF has also reduced the global growth outlook. This IMF has also reduced the global growth outlook. Now, you know, data war can be a totally different debate. Sadhan and Dhume, come in on this one. I'm going to come back to Salman Sood. Come in on this. You know, unfortunately, elections are not won whether, you know, how much recovery you've had on banks with insolvency and bankruptcy code. Elections are not won with, you know, whether you are growing at 7% or actually at 7.5%. It's other, you know, it's other muddas, other planks that actually decided. And unfortunately, this time round, it's a lot of hyperbole. It's about national security, border security. It's not about jobs this time. That is one clear differentiator between 2014 and 2019. My question to you is, and because you've been a big critic of demonetization as well, is that in 2019, do you think demonetization is really a thing of the past, or do you think that is also on top of the mind when the voter is going in to vote? All of those kind of issues. We can criticize the GST because, you know, the Indians don't like paying tax. Tax is considered to be a dirty 3-letter word in India. But having said that, it has led to formalization of the economy, and there's been enough time for voters to get used to the GST as well and its benefits.
That's a good question. You know, I think that the important distinction over here is how we as analysts and pundits talk about these things and how voters on the ground perceive them. As you know, I am indeed a big critic of demonetization. I think it's one of the most harebrained policies that any Indian government has put in place in the last 25 years. But if I'm honest, I must admit, I was traveling in Delhi and parts of UP last week. That's just not how voters perceive things, right? So, you know, as someone who observes elections and observes politics, you have to sort of just say, how are you looking at it? And I think that on the ground, people tend to look at these things in, you know, less in policy terms and more in kind of 2 ways. One is they want a sort of broad sense of the direction of the country, right? They're not getting into minutiae about IMF surveys and things. I mean, I wish they were, but they're not. And the second thing is that I think that the BJP has successfully concretized this idea of development by turning it into several small things, right? Toilets, LPG, Mudra loans, Jandhan accounts. And now, again, we can get into a discussion about whether this is the right way forward or not. But I'm just saying that if you keep this discussion purely political, which I think is appropriate today because this is the first day of voting, it does strike me as having been a fairly effective strategy.
Okay. Mr. Kidwai, come in over here. You know, there's a very popular saying that all roads to New Delhi have to pass through Uttar Pradesh. You've seen those seats in, particularly in Western UP, go for polling today. How are you reading this entire situation? You know, you look at Muzaffarnagar, etc. Do you think the BJP would have done well, or do you think it's in the back seat? What's the sense that you're getting?
Very fascinating election because it's being fought in a very
Every election passes.
simply because it's fought in a very contrasting style. You have Prime Minister Modi, the story of economic growth, the kind of glass being half empty or half full. All these things are there, and there is the regional parties are there who have formed this kind of alliances, caste-based largely alliances, and the BJP in its wisdom has actually on the matter of nationalism and several other issues have targeted the Congress. Now, if you look at map of India, the BJP is fighting with the Congress in just about 40% of seats. 60% of seats it's the regional parties, and where many places in many states like Bengal, Tamil Nadu and several places, BJP does not have a strong state leadership or so to say credible alliances. So that's where I think this elections are fascinating because the BJP may do very well or may not do enough to come back to power, and then we will have a kind of all kind of permutations, combinations. So I think Uttar Pradesh holds the key, and from what I saw in the Deoband rally and subsequently, there seems to be the caste-based parties are getting their act together. It remains to be seen how it will translate into actually seats and results.
Yes, it is of course a test of the Mahagatbandhan as well. So, if I could come to you, the two national parties have tried to make significant inroads into South India. In 2019, on May 23rd, we'll know if their attempts have indeed been successful. But let's talk about Telangana as well as Andhra, where neither of the national parties have decided to go in with any pre-poll alliance. They have just decided who they're going to gamble on, and if that person wins, then they stand to gain. That has been their strategy. But do you honestly believe that the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Congress have made significant inroads into South India? And could the states like Andhra Pradesh and Telangana turn out to be kingmakers on May 23rd?
First, the last question, that Telangana and Andhra whether Telangana and Andhra are going to be the kingmakers. Yes, they are going to be the kingmakers. And Congress had a stronghold on both the states when it was not divided. Once the states were divided, both the states, it has lost its base. And BJP making inroads, I don't think it is possible in the next 10 years too.
Okay, so you don't even think in 10 years is going to be able to make significant inroads. Now, Nalin Kohli, let me come to you. You had 5 years to try and forge alliances in South India. You have tried. Like in Tamil Nadu, we have seen the kind of campaigning. You're trying to make inroads into Kerala. Karnataka, there has been improvement as well. Having said that, are you all satisfied with what has happened in South India? A lot of people are saying that Telangana and Andhra Pradesh are indeed going to be the kingmakers, that you're once again seeing this trend of regionalism come back at the national level, the kind of politics that you saw in the 90s and the 2000s, the early 2000s.
Nayantara, let me try and give you what my perspective would be, a few broad indicators that I see this election with. I mean, I'm picking up from where Rashid Kidwai Bhai left it. He made a comment about regional parties. So let's look at it first. This is a case where you have a prime minister who's been consistently, personally, with really high ratings throughout. Those ratings, even at their worst, have always been in the 55-60 range. Otherwise, at peaks, they have gone even up to 75-80. So that's an interesting thing. We've not seen it over a 5-year period consistently for anyone. The second, in Tamil Nadu, it's going to be the first election without Jayalalitha ji or M.K. Karunanidhi ji. Otherwise, Tamil Nadu used to be an election clearly between these two stalwarts, political stalwarts. So we don't know. The third is, if I look at the BJP as a political party, from a party that originally was seen to be an urban-based party, we've really grown nationally, and 14 is that example, 282 seats on our own. The Northeast, which has never been a frontier of the BJP, has opened up in a very big way. There are 25 seats in the Northeast, including Sikkim. We are in government either ourselves or in coalition or NDA partners across the 7 states. So that brings me next to the regional parties and the Congress. The Congress, which we saw in the Bihar state elections, was like, as Mr. Jaitley used that phrase, the tail end of the coalition. In Uttar Pradesh, the two regional parties were not even willing to take it as the tail end of the coalition. So therefore, that space of a national party, which was the prominent national party till 2014, has diminished to a large extent. The next thing is the regional parties that you're talking. So if I look at the election, it's really a choice between a national party, which is the BJP, and a group of parties, the federal structure, what they call Federal Front or National Front, Mahagatbandhan or Gadbandhan, whatever they may call, which is these set of parties which haven't got a clarity about what their agenda is, who the leader is, but are taking it on. In terms of the Congress, when Rashid Bhai says that only 40% seats, but principally we are against the Congress, it's, I think, the credit has to go to Mr. Rahul Gandhi for constantly challenging Mr. Narendra Modi rather than the regional parties. In that context, it seems so. So I think it's a fascinating...
Which is not taken up as yet. Even today, Rahul Gandhi challenged him, and we still have... If we could see the kind of debates that you sometimes see in the United States where the two primary candidates actually come, and I wish we could see that, but the fact is you're bringing it up, so I have to say the Prime Minister has not accepted the challenge.
No. Well, the simple point being that why should he? So there is a choice. Mr. Gandhi is entitled as any Indian citizen to have a point of view and every day speak on that point of view. We have a counterpoint of view that he doesn't speak on facts and he manufactures what he has to. So it's okay. He'll campaign, the voters will decide. But according to me, the voters really have a choice between what Mr. Modi said, the Majboot Sarkar versus a Majboor Sarkar. And we believe that's a very good plan.
Salman Soos, Nalin Kohli. Salman Soos, Nalin Kohli is saying that there is no point in having a debate with your chosen leader and your prime ministerial candidate because he manufactures facts. This has been a regular complaint of the BJP. Even yesterday, for example, we don't have to look back a lot more. Just look at yesterday when Rahul Gandhi once again said Chaukidar chor hai because certain documents could be admitted in a review petition. Rahul Gandhi said 1 + 1 = 3. It means that the December verdict is being overturned and therefore it's a vindication. So, maybe that is a good enough reason for the BJP and Narendra Modi to not agree to the challenge that your prime ministerial candidate keeps offering.
Frankly, I think the Prime Minister is, he won't take questions from you as in the press conference, and he will not debate Mr. Gandhi because I think he's scared, frankly. Because what did they do? I mean, these people tell us, the Congress party, that you are lying and you are not fact-based. Everybody in the country knows that the kind of fake information that the BJP and its information cell generates is humongous. I mean, forget the BJP supporters and trolls and all that. The government of India went to the Supreme Court and withheld documents and actually misled the Supreme Court in a case of national security, which is a Rafale scam. So I don't want to get into this thing of, we know what the BJP stands for. The whole country knows what they stand for. But let me come to this issue of, the Northeast or the Prime Minister's popularity. In the Northeast, the way the BJP has manufactured a kind of a majority in many states is basically coercion or money power. I mean, how else do you explain 40 assembly members shifting to the BJP in Arunachal Pradesh? And by the way, the Prime Minister's popularity, if he was so popular, then why did the BJP lose 70% of the assembly segments in Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, where the Prime Minister himself campaigned? 70% of the seats they lost. So I think this election is very, very different. I think Nalin is going to be very, very surprised and perhaps shocked when the results come out because there's an undercurrent. There's an undercurrent of dissatisfaction because the expectations that this Prime Minister and the BJP had kind of set for the country.
Quick response, Nalin, because then I have to go to the other two guests. Quick,
And
because
I
you were
think
raising your hand. I'll give you less than a minute to respond because then I have to go to the others.
No, yeah, sure. No, I'm just making it that, look, as I said, each of us is entitled to have a point of view. But yes, I do believe that there is an undercurrent of support. Salman obviously believes that there is an undercurrent of discontent. We'll know on the 23rd of May. But for us, one of the things is when you see in Bengal, whether it's Calcutta, Durgapur, Siliguri, the crowds overflowing beyond the capacity of the ground. So unprecedented for a party that is not the frontline party yet. Now we are the main challengers. We do believe that there is something that is going right for the BJP in the East and certainly in the Northeast.
Okay, Sadhanand Dhume, I don't think anybody can deny that Narendra Modi gets marketing. He understands the pulse of the people. He knows exactly maybe, and his workers know how to fill grounds. So should we take it seriously when Nalin Kohli actually says that look at the popularity of Narendra Modi, look at the way he's filling up football fields, stadiums, etc. Would you take that seriously? Because, that has been something else we have been talking about. And, this entire issue, once again, I want to raise, elections are not won based on what Rafale and we have to differentiate between assembly elections and what's happening today at the Lok Sabha elections.
Let me make 2 quick points, but I want to first address this question of debate and sort of, take this away from the sort of, usual BJP Congress sniping. Look, if you're looking at the interests of Indian democracy, I think it's a shame that we have not been able to institutionalize debates, right? The way you have the debates that have been institutionalized in places like the US, where the voters do get a clear chance of comparing 2 people or more than 2 people side by side. But there are many reasons for this. Partly it's because India has a much more complicated polity, so I'm not blaming any particular party. In terms of the BJP dodging a debate, frankly, this is just how politics works everywhere. It's always in the interest of the underdog to be on a debate stage, and it's always in the interest of the front runner to minimize the number of debates. So unless you kind of institutionalize this, and that requires a kind of bipartisan or multi-partisan effort, which includes journalists and others, we're never going to get to a stage where we get proper political debates of the sort that Salman was recommending. So that's one point. Now, on the question of crowds, I think there's no question that crowds matter. How exactly do they translate into seats in a place like Bengal, where there's a dominant regional leader like Mamata Banerjee? Honestly,
Rahul
we don't
Gandhi,
know.
Mayawati, Akhilesh Yadav, how will it even be structured?
So we do, all we can say is that they are indicative of something. Now, whether this something is enough to translate into seats or not, nobody knows, frankly, right? And if you're a Congress party spokesperson, you're going to say rallies at the BJP, Modi's rallies don't matter. And if you're a BJP spokesperson, you're going to say, look, we're about to make huge inroads into Bengal. We don't know the answer, but we do know that at some level...
Let Mr. Kidwai comes in. He wants to say something.
Matter.
Yeah, I think this whole idea what Mr. Nalin Kohli was saying that, the Prime Minister's popularity, let's remember that in 2004, Prime Minister Bajpayee's popularity ratings were very high. Mr. Bajpayee fought that election against a question mark. Manmohan Singh was nowhere in picture. Sonia Gandhi was seen as a very weak kind of opponent. There was no other, regional leader like Mulayam Singh or Sharad Pawar or Karunanidhi were in fray. So this is a little deceptive. I am saying that, just to take this yardstick that Mr. Modi's ratings are very high, that does not mean that the outcome will also be in favor of Prime Minister Modi or BJP. You look at Chhattisgarh, what had happened? Again, Dr. Raman Singh's popularity was fairly good, and they had all the socio-economic indicators favoring, and there was nobody from the Congress side, not like, a Kamal Nath in Madhya Pradesh or a Sachin Pilot in Rajasthan. Yet, people of Chhattisgarh rejected BJP. So what I'm saying is, this is something that, the BJP has to be very careful when it, goes to elections. Of course, today first phase is over, but next 6 phases, they have to be very careful with this kind of model that they are going in.
Nalin Kohli, in fact, that was a big message from Priyanka. Nalin Kohli, in fact, that was a big message from Priyanka Gandhi, from Sonia Gandhi today after her Havan, just before she filed her nomination papers. She said, just remember 2004. That's my message to the BJP. It's something that Rashid Kidwai is also reminding you. Are you also maybe falling into the same trap that you did then? India shining, didn't work out. Look what happened. Today, you're not even talking about jobs. You're not even talking about, you're talking about a decisive India, a new India. Any similarities? Are you worried? And shouldn't you be worried?
No, I don't think so. Every election has its own set of issues. Elections really are not copycats as they used to be, maybe in the first 3 decades of Indian democracy after we got independent. I mean, you could just really, after the Congress party came and, you could just not even visit a constituency and win. It used to be like that, but we've changed and moved on far away from that. So I have 2 answers. One is to what Sadanand was saying. You can't have a structured kind of a debate in India, not in the parliamentary system and the federal structure that we have. Let's take the example for now. You have Prime Minister Modi on this side. Now on the other side, who are the prime ministerial contenders? There's definitely Mayawati ji, there's definitely Mamta ji, and there may be another 4 or 5 leaders. Now who are you debating with? I mean, you can't have a debate. At least I don't know in which format. I've been a debater in school, college, and most of my life. I don't know what is this format where one person will keep debating with all the other contenders. So that polity is still not there unless it is in a presidential kind of a style, and that we certainly are not. So I don't see a structured debate happening between the contender and, as he calls it, the underdog, or I'll call it the challenger.
All your campaign is just one thing, which is to beat Modi. How can you say that Modi is not as popular as you keep saying, or his ratings are not as high as they are, because your entire campaign is also just based on beat Modi? What are your main planks? What are you offering? You know, even when you talk about Nyay, you say, I'm going to pay 72,000 rupees a year to the 20% poorest. You know, the Bharatiya Janata Party and the finance minister says, I'm already paying that. In fact, I'm already paying more. So when the voter goes, they already know I'm paying 14,000 rupees. They're talking about 12,000 rupees. What is your plan besides saying beat Narendra Modi, and then you say Narendra Modi is not popular?
If he were a great finance minister, then we could kind of, believe what he says. But the fact of the matter is that subsidies are not new in India. So when he says, I'm already paying this, it's not as if, UPA was not doing anything. He's basically continuing or adding to that. Nyay is a very, very different scheme, but Nyay is just one part of our plank. What I suggest to journalists when people, is that, a little bit of due diligence on the manifesto. The basic plank of the Congress party is the following, that when it comes to the economy, the private sector, we must create an environment where the private sector leads and leads fully, okay? And that we should have a level playing field between domestic and foreign investors in this country. That's number one. Second, that the government should be in the business of providing public goods like water, defense, security, those kinds of things, but should not be going into areas that are typically for the private sector to do. That's a very important thing. And by the way, the third plank is consumption. Very important to ensure that consumption-led growth, which is a big part of our economy, continues. And fourth, exports. This is the economic policy kind of plank. These are, because under the Modi government, exports have really, withered away. But ultimately, we can grow the economy, but that is not enough. We need to create jobs. For jobs to come by, you need to push the micro, small, and medium enterprises. That's what we say in our manifesto as well. Extremely important to do that. Finally, social justice is a necessary and important part of this construct, because you can try and create jobs, but at the same time, you have to have a social safety net that is strong enough. Right now, I do not believe that the safety net in India is strong enough. The Asian Development Bank reports in the 2016 report basically saying that India is ranked 24th out of 35 Asian countries in terms of spending on social protection as a share of its economy. We need to build that up. Nyay is one step in that direction.
So they're going to say, what were you doing? You've been in power since 1947. You've been primarily in power. So what have you done? So, let's not get on to that. And also, once again, I want to get back to Mr. Sekhar and to ask him this question. Have we got it right? And I am guilty of that, because I am from North India and I'm based out of North India. I'm based out of New Delhi. Here we keep hearing, and the political pundits keep telling us, that this is going to be a sweep by the TDP and the YSRCP. Is that how you are also reading it? And there's absolutely no chance of any of the main national parties making absolutely any inroads at all, and it's going to be a clean sweep, you think?
Yeah, out of the 91 Lok Sabha seats that went to polls today, 42 are from Andhra and Telangana. And Chandrasekhar Rao has created a political narrative and then called for the dissolution of the assembly, went to polls and come back with a huge majority. And he also is now trying to create another political narrative that a federal front is in the making and it's the need of the hour, and that might capture the power at Delhi. And Chandrababu Naidu, who walked out of National Democratic Alliance, he joined hands with the United Progressive Alliance until the election in Telangana. And now Congress and Telugu Desam are contesting separately, and Congress is not likely to win even one Lok Sabha seat, or I doubt whether they can win even one assembly seat. In fact, Andhra is going for simultaneous polls, and the 5 years battle is between YSR Congress and Chandrababu Naidu. Chandrababu Naidu would no way support Narendra Modi if NDA is falling short of a few numbers. And for that reason, Modi might look at Jagan Mohan Reddy. Jagan Mohan Reddy has laid a condition that whichever political party that comes to power that needs his numbers has to give in writing that they has to sign the special category status that has been promised by Dr. Manmohan Singh on the floor of the Rajya Sabha to the state of Andhra Pradesh. And in the process of, Chandrasekhar Rao has reached out to Jagan Mohan Reddy for building up his federal front. And in the process, Mr. Chandrasekhar Rao has announced 2 days ago in a public, let me complete, in a public meeting that he would extend support to the of special category status. So this national party is making inroads does not arise.
You know, when you hear Sadhanand Dume, what Mr. Sekhar has to say about the reading in South India, I have to ask you this question, then we have to go into a short commercial break. In the last 5 years, has the Bharatiya Janata Party, which has stood for anti-corruption, which was also one of its muddas, main planks in 2014, been cherry-picking the kind of alliances that it picks? When it suits it, it goes ahead with parties which are perceived to be corrupt, which are not seen to be clean. Would you agree with that? Isn't the Bharatiya Janata Party guilty of that?
So I'll quickly answer, but let me first, just put this Andhra election, because this is, this is almost half of the seats today in perspective for some of your national viewers. I think the single reason this matters is, going back to some of the analogies that were raised about the 2004 election. There are two things that are very significant about Andhra and Telangana. I mean, the old undivided Andhra. So one is that the Congress's disappearance from this large block of seats, of 42 seats if you take them together, basically makes it much, much harder for them to get within shooting distance, right, of cobbling together a government. And I think that has huge national significance. The second is that it shows the limits of the BJP's southern strategy, right? Beyond Karnataka, it really hasn't made any inroads. So that's the kind of national significance. On the corruption question, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Jagan Reddy, shall we say, does not exactly have the cleanest reputation in the world. But we do know that, if push comes to shove and parties find themselves short, it doesn't matter. And certainly the BJP, I would include in that category, would likely turn to support wherever you can find it. And that's sort of, less an indictment of any particular party and more a fact that at the state level, or at any level, in fact, politics costs a lot of money. And there's this idea that we have somehow solved this problem of corruption in politics or funding in politics through dodgy means. I mean, that's completely a myth. I mean, that remains a very large issue.
Okay, with that, we're going to take a short commercial break. Gentlemen, stay with us. On India Development Debate is the first day of elections. India went to vote today. We're analyzing the various trends and discussing who might just be at the advantage. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back. You're watching India Development Debate. I'm Nayantara Rai. Nalin Kohli of the BJP, I'm going to come to you first. Are you worried for Nitin Gadkari? The numbers from Nagpur, not that encouraging. 60% voter turnout. In 2014, it was 70%. Usually when you see this kind of a dip, it hurts the incumbent candidate.
I'm not sure. Because, I've heard the counter argument too, Nayantara. I've heard that when you have a large voting, then it means the incumbent is in danger and that, the opposition is winning. So it's worked in both ways. I won't go by the voting percent. 60% is a moderately decent. I mean, 70 and all is what we desire to see. 80 is phenomenal. And I think with Mr. Nitin Gadkari, I would say that's a seat that he would certainly win for many reasons. A, he's from Nagpur. Nagpur has seen a lot of infrastructural development. He's passionate about infrastructure. We know he speaks on it. So I don't think the voting percentage would be something there. Perhaps, if anything, they would say it helps the incumbent.
Okay, so that's as far as Nagpur and Nitin Gadkari goes. Salman Soz, I'm going to come to you, and then I'm going to also ask Mr. Kidwai the same question. They say all roads, like I said before, go to New Delhi from Uttar Pradesh. I have to ask you this, with all that talk of the Mahagatbandhan, you have the likes of the BSP and Samajwadi Party coming together with just one mission to beat Narendra Modi. Then doesn't the Congress go and botch it up when it came out with those lists, almost with arrogance, saying, yeah, these are going to be all our seats and we're leaving 7 to you to be shared by the SP, BSP and the RLD. Surely that must have worked against you.
Well, as far as alliances are concerned, the Congress has alliances in multiple states, but in UP it did not work out, and frankly, it is not necessarily because we did not want an alliance. So that's there. It's that's the way it is in UP. But I will tell you this. Like I said earlier, this election is very different. I remember being on TV shows the last time around, and clearly there was this phenomenon. There was something happening. Something big was happening, and of course, Mr. Modi and the BJP ran a terrific campaign. They won handily. This does not feel anything like that. In fact, when I was on TV shows today during the day, you could people were asked questions in the queues as to how they were voting and all that. The enthusiasm levels, even among BJP supporters, seem to be down. So even BJP supporters are kind of muted in their kind of endorsement. Even when they say that they want to support the Prime Minister, they want to give him 5 more years. He didn't have enough time. So I think something's changing. That's why I said there's an undercurrent. One thing I would like to object to, Nayantara, is this characterization that Congress ruled for all these years. Now poll. These guys...
This is a new poll that we're carrying out.
Can I just finish this?
That are based in TV studios. This is a new kind of a poll that you're carrying out, Salman Soz, that, what is the mood like in the TV studios? Good one over there.
No, I'm just...
You said the same thing. You said the same thing, that you don't see a Modi... Mr. Kidwai, you were also saying there's no Modi wave, there's no Modi tsunami this time round. And I also have to ask, I want to ask you this because, you follow Uttar Pradesh very closely. Did the Congress miss an opportunity at the Mahagatbandhan, for the SP and the BSP, the way it acted when it came to seat allocation and giving out tickets?
Congress was never going to be part of Mahagatbandhan. Congress has never had, political alliances with either SP or BSP in parliamentary elections. The vote bank, whatever vote bank Congress has, if it's, if it had moved with the part of Mahagatbandhan, it would have actually indirectly helped the BJP more than the Mahagatbandhan. And in the process of bargaining, if suppose Congress was to join this Mahagatbandhan, they would have to give some seats in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, elsewhere to SP-BSP. And that would have, taken away all the advantages that if there was any electoral advantage to the Congress party, because they would have to concede seats that are winnable outside Uttar Pradesh. So this is a thing they have gone with an intent. Priyanka Gandhi was drafted in just to shore up Congress prospects. Nayantara, you must remember that 3 Gandhis are there, 3 members of Gandhi family, Sonia, Rahul and Priyanka campaigning. If they don't get 100 mark, it will reflect very poorly on them, and it would sound like the collapse of Congress party. So Congress has to get 100 seats or more, then the regional parties have to get their act together, and that's how they plan to beat the BJP.
So minimum 100 seats they have to get in over there, but Sadanand Dume, would you agree with that? And then if this is really the situation, why induct Priyanka Gandhi so late? We still don't know if she's going to stand. The Congress bastions are gone of Rai Bareli and Amethi, with Sonia Gandhi today officially filing her nomination. There was some talk earlier that would it actually be a surprise candidate of Priyanka Gandhi from there?
I have a lot of respect for Mr. Kidwai, but let me just disagree completely 100% on this question of Uttar Pradesh. First of all, just as Salman Soz just said himself 5 minutes ago, the Congress would have liked an alliance. It didn't work out, and that's pretty much that is common knowledge. If the Congress had joined the Mahagatbandhan, it would have made a difference in several ways. First of all, it would have solidified the anti-BJP vote, and this is very much an election where the BJP is in pole position and Modi is the sort of the leader who you're either for or against, but is a very sort of dominant factor. So that's number one that would have helped them. Number two, and I would say this may be even more important, it would have shifted the perception game. Because you need to not only be winning, but you need to look like you're winning. You need to look like you have a chance. And as we saw with the by-elections in Gorakhpur and Phulpur, there was just a sort of there's a sense that how unity is projected. And I think that at this crucial moment, Congress stepping back or not being allowed into the fold by the SP and the BSP has really dented their, their prospects, or at least how their prospects are seen across the country. Of course, it's entirely possible that, stuff is happening on the ground that we're not aware of. But I think to argue that the Congress not joining SP-BSP was some kind of, a clever move that they intended, I have to say is utterly disingenuous.
Yeah, the alliance didn't work out, which, as Sadanand Dhume is also saying, is common knowledge. Nalin Kohli, I know you have to go, so I'm going to allow you to make your final comment here. First day of voting, there is no Modi tsunami, there is no Modi wave. It is unfortunate. They're saying that you can't even make inroads into South India. You may make up for it in Orissa a little bit, and that Western UP is also not gone your way. And with Eastern UP, you've got the three Gandhis campaigning very heavily. How are you all sleeping peacefully at night? How are you so confident of a simple majority?
Number one is, no one on this panel or outside knows what the voters have done. So there's impossibility to predict it. But certainly if you ask us why we are sleeping confidently, I'm repeating what I said at the start. We believe it's a pro-incumbency vote for the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, the dynamism that he's brought in terms of the economy, in terms of social justice, in terms of the global position, in terms of reaching out at every segment of society, 22 crore beneficiaries, in terms of bringing the economy back on track, in terms of making it a scam-free government. And we do believe that the people have a right to even look at the pro-incumbency when you have a leadership and an agenda like that. So we are going on our performance, and we are going on a positive agenda of change, of leadership, and an agenda of change. We leave it to the voters. We'll know on the 23rd.
Yes, of course. India will know on May 23rd. The world will know on May 23rd, what the actual mandate is. Thanks, Nalin. I know you have to go, but we would have liked and convinced you to stay for the entire debate, but we did promise you that you would, we would let you go 10 minutes earlier. Having said that, Salman, so do you want to comment on the point that Sadanand Dhume was making, that he disagrees with this entire claim that is being made, and therefore it is a missed opportunity for you. You've also missed opportunities in the South, you've missed opportunities in Bihar as well.
Well, in the south, we have an alliance in Kerala. In Tamil Nadu, we have an alliance with the DMK, which is going to sweep the elections there. In Karnataka, we have an alliance. So I'm not really sure what you're referring to. Yes, in Andhra Pradesh and in Telangana, we don't have an alliance. And, because there are lots of factors that go into deciding where you should have an alliance and where you should not have an alliance. You don't want a cookie cutter approach and say that one shoe fits, one size fits all, and that's not the way to go. I do want to talk a little bit about what Nalin was saying about all the good things that the Prime Minister has done and all that, but this is not, they're not talking about any of the development and Vikas and all that stuff. That's not what their story is. Their story is Hindu-Muslim. Their story today, the president of the BJP was talking about how they were going to do this national citizenship register, and how the only migrants who are Hindus and Sikhs and Buddhists would be allowed to stay, everybody else would be driven out. So their thing is now Hindu-Muslim, open, blatant, total disregard for electoral norms. They will try, obviously, to do this nationalism stuff without explaining to the country how they want to provide jobs for the children, of the soldiers who are guarding the border. How do they provide jobs for that? They won't talk about that. They'll talk about the sacrifices of the soldiers. They'll say that this is Modi's Sena. This is, that is what their politics is right now. And I think that is born out of frustration. And I think that is because they see that something's happening on the ground. They have internal surveys, and they are worried. I can tell you they're worried.
Mr. Sekhar, you just heard what Salman's sources had to say, that the BJP's entire campaign seems to be around religion politics, identity politics. Can you give us a flavor of what it is all about in Andhra Pradesh as well as Telangana? Is it really about religion over there, or is it about development? And is it because of development that you're seeing the resurrection or possible sweep by the regional parties?
Actually, no.
Or they just don't identify with these political parties?
No. There is no regional. There is no. See, whatever you said, it doesn't apply to Andhra and Telangana. Telangana. Andhra is completely fought.
None of it is going to apply. So tell us what it is all about over there.
Andhra is completely fought. It's a political fight between YSR Congress and Telugu Desam, and the political one-upmanship, and the doles they have announced, and also the special category status that has been a central issue for the election. And in Telangana, it is one-sided, and Chandrasekhar Rao has very cleverly advanced the assembly elections and he consolidated his political leadership, and he consolidated his political supremacy in Telangana. And he is fighting the battle only to create a federal front. So it is all about these things in Andhra and Telangana, and BJP's development, religionism, and other agendas and development. Nothing of that kind is, actually holding this way among the masses.
Okay. Mr. Kidwai, you began this debate by saying there is no Modi wave, there is no Modi tsunami. But are you therefore saying the NDA is not going to come back to power? I've got time for 2 more questions, and I'm going to give them to Mr. Kidwai and to Sadhanand. Mr. Kidwai, is that what you're saying, that the NDA perhaps will not come back to power?
If the personality of Mr. Modi, if that issue, doesn't click, then obviously we are in for, very interesting times. And you see, what will happen if Mr. Modi falls short of clear majority, then the Andhra Pradesh, the undivided Andhra Pradesh, it will become very important, because both KCR and Jagan Mohan Reddy will bargain very hard with both kind of formations, NDA and UPA. It will, Delhi will become like a, big bazaar where all political parties will try to bargain and strike a deal. Let me tell you, it will not be, as long as the, NDA is short of majority, it will find very difficult to muster, enough numbers. See, we have seen in Karnataka when Mr. Yediyurappa got first chance, and he was within striking distance, one would have assumed, but nobody moved. And this is what will happen, likely to happen if there is a, fractured mandate. So from that point of view, I think that is a big problem for the incumbent government, because Congress and regional allies will promise moon.
Sadhanand Dhume, how real is the chance of a fractured mandate? And what about the fears about if Narendra Modi is once again going to be Prime Minister, but with not those convincing numbers of the BJP, that his own party might start to revolt against him? How real is that fear as well?
So 2 questions. This fractured mandate question, I would say that the idea that the BJP would be denied power again will depend entirely, obviously, on the numbers. And it would require the BJP, in my estimation, to fall below 200 seats, and for the Congress to have at least 150 seats, at least 140, right? Both of these things will have to be satisfied. Based on my current reading, I think that I don't see that happening. So I think that the BJP does remain odds-on favorite to return. Of course, no one knows for sure. We'll know on the 23rd. I find this idea that the BJP will revolt against Prime Minister Modi if they get fewer seats, frankly, completely unbelievable. Whether you like it or not, Modi and Amit Shah have centralized power. They have pulled off a succession from the Vajpayee-Advani era. And the fact is that...
I'm completely disagreeing with you.
The fact is that Modi remains a person who can go
I can see Mr. Kidwai completely disagreeing with you and shaking his head.
Across the country and mobilize voters. This is not
Final comment?
Just sort of analysis.
The whole idea would be to form a government. I don't think, the BJP or Sangh Parivar, as we say, or NDA is in a mood to sit in a position. So there will be an attempt to, form an alternate. Now, if Stalin and Mamata Banerjee and all force leadership change, what will be the option before NDA leadership?
Okay, we don't know it is a lot. Okay, we don't know. There's a lot of debating that we can carry on all the way till May 23rd. And of course, then we'll have a lot more to talk about. Sadhanand, I know you want to come in, but my producer is saying we're completely out of time. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on India Development Debate. We look forward to more interactions. Remember, counting day is still quite far, May 23rd. Many thanks for watching.